Hi guys, welcome back. Hope everyone's doing good. Welcome to News in 30 minutes. Before we get on with the important issues of the day, one important update is yesterday we spoke about the World AIDS Day. Correct? So yesterday, by mistake, I attributed the World AIDS Day to November 30th. Please make the correction. This is wrong. The World AIDS Day is on 1st of December. Please do this correction. And I'm really sorry about it. Now to just give you an update of the AIDS HIV scenario in India. Totally, we have 24 lakh population who are people living with HIV. So if you take the entire people living with HIV, this is coming up to almost third largest in numbers in the world to have people living with HIV in India. Now the third largest number, if we take the states that houses the people living with HIV, the first state is Maharashtra, the second is Andhra Pradesh, and the third is Karnataka. Okay, now this is with respect to numbers. Okay, that is people living with HIV. Now, if I take the prevalence rate, the prevalence rate has been declining in India. And if you take the prevalence rate and rank the countries of the world, India comes 80th. So that shows that the prevalence rate is declining. However, if I rank according to the prevalence rate in India, the northeastern states have very high prevalence rate. Amongst them, the first is Mizoram. So currently, Mizoram, stands first when it comes to the prevalence rate of HIV in India. Okay, so we have to make sure the precautions and awareness, drives must be taken up in the northeast states so that the prevalence rate there is reduced. Okay, so with that update, please make the correction. World AIDS Day is not on November 30th. It falls on the 1st of December. Okay, with that, let us start off with the first issue of 1st of December 2023. The first issue is a very good news for all those climate activists, especially the groups like Climate Watch Group. This Climate Watch Group was vehemently fighting for the establishment of Loss and Damage Fund, and after such a long fight, the COP28 has finally set up something called Loss and Damage Fund. Okay, so let's just read the headlines first before we get on with it. Loss and Damage Fund cleared on day 1 of COP28 summit. Okay, the fund meant to compensate countries dealing with the effects of climate change. They get commitment of at least $450 million. All developing countries are eligible to apply for the fund, and every country has been invited to contribute to it. Okay, so let me just elaborate what this means. So L&D fund means Loss and Damage Fund. It is a fund that is given to those countries which are highly vulnerable to climate change also, and they have already faced losses and damages. That is, as a consequence of climate change, there is already losses and damages that have happened in these countries. So this fund is for those countries that have already been subjected to the consequence of climate change. So I hope you understood this. Now, we got to know that COP28 that is happening in UAE. Okay, it is happening in UAE. This resulted in the setting up of L&D fund. Okay, however, you have to understand the evolution of the L&D fund. Okay, because in the prelims exam, usually they will always go back to the background of the context to ask you the question, so that you should always go back to the background. In this today entire video, I will keep showing you how to go back to the background and try to study what is the background context of different issues. Okay, so please make an idea of all these things. Now, if I take L&D fund, okay, and if I study the evolution of L&D fund, it all started in COP19. COP19 happened in Warsaw, Poland. So in Warsaw, Poland in 2013, when there was a conference of parties meet, then there was all the parties agreed that there has to be some concept called L&D fund. So this saw the genesis of the concept of L&D fund. Now from here, it almost took 5 years. Look at it. The next was COP25. COP25 occurred in Madrid, but the presidency was Chile. Due to COVID, it occurred in Madrid, but the presidency was Chile. In COP25, the year was 2019. Here, they set up something called Santiago Network. Santiago is the capital of Chile. So, Santiago Network. Okay. So, this Santiago Network is to connect all those highly vulnerable countries that have already faced loss and damage, so that you identify those countries so that assistance can be given. So that was the next step towards L&D fund. Now after this comes the next COP26. COP26 occurred in Glasgow, and this was the year of 2021. Okay, and here there was Glasgow dialogue. And in this Glasgow dialogue, the dialogue was mainly on how to finance the L&D fund. So that was the main aspect of COP26. Then comes the next COP27 that occurred last year, or that happened last year in Egypt. And in Egypt, there was a setting up of, this occurred in 2022, they set up something called Transition Committee. Okay, so this transition committee that was set up, this mainly was indulged in having meetings to finalize the funding mechanism and how the operations will work. Okay, so the funding mechanism and how the operations will work. So with this comes now the COP28 that is happening in UAE, Dubai, and Dubai 2023, and now the L&D fund has been successfully set up. So this is good news for all the climate activists, as I told you, and this is what is the evolution of the loss and damage fund. Okay, now you got to know the evolution. Let us now understand what is the importance of this fund and how this fund works. So if I take L&D fund, as I told you, they are mainly targeting highly vulnerable countries that have already suffered loss and damage. Now that doesn't mean that there are only selective countries that are allowed. What they are telling is all developing countries are eligible to apply. All developing countries are eligible to apply. Also, the funding will be voluntary. So all nations are invited. All nations are invited to fund this particular fund. It need not be always developed nations. All nations are invited voluntarily to contribute to this L&D fund. And certain percentage of this term, certain percentage of this fund will be reserved for least developed nations as well as small island nations, small island developed states, SIDS they call it. Okay, so some percentage of this fund will be earmarked to be used in least developed nations as well as small island developed states. The reason is these are highly vulnerable to the effects of climate change. Hence, it makes sense to have some percentage reserved for these countries. So this is the overall members and their participation and how the funds will be contributed. Now, the good news in the COP28 is already a few countries have come up. The countries like UAE, countries like Germany has already committed itself to fund the L&D fund, and these countries have come up with almost $250 million. $250 million is already been committed, and but however this is a small amount. We need to have at least $1 billion in the L&D fund. So the climate activists see that this is just a beginning and there can be increase in the commitments that the country makes regarding L&D fund. Okay, so that is another aspect. The next is how does this fund work? Okay, if you take L&D fund, this L&D fund is housed. It is housed in, or it will be hosted in, or it will be hosted by the World Bank. It will be hosted by the World Bank. Okay, so the World Bank is basically acting as a host, but the fund operations will be handled by the independent secretariat. There will be an independent secretariat that will handle the operations of the fund. The hosting will be done by the World Bank. Okay, and this World Bank will host this fund for a period of 4 years. It will host the fund for the period of 4 years. Okay, so this is the overall aspect of L&D fund. So I hope you understood there are very, very high chances that this can be asked in your prelims as well as in your mains GS3 part. Okay, so please make sure that you have all idea about what this concept is. Okay, now the COP28, the first day is started today, that is 1st of December. It is going to continue. So every day there will be new initiatives that will be launched. There will be new agreements that will be done. There will be new commitments that will be done. So you have to have a very good and clear observation of all these initiatives, agreements and commitments. Okay, so when you're reading newspaper, have a very good observation over the COP28 that is taking place currently. Okay, so with that, let us move on to the next issue of the day. The next issue of the day is about the Indian Navy. Okay, here the question can come like this: what is India's current status regarding Indian Ocean, or how is India's role in Indian Ocean in the current scenario? If you take this as the question, this article provides very excellent fodder points for you to develop answer for this question. India's role in Indian Ocean is very well written in this article. Before I get into the analysis part, let me just read out the headlines. Navy gets ready for its biggest naval exercise amid ocean engagements. They are talking about Exercise Milan. Exercise Milan is a biennial multilateral naval exercise which began in 1995 and has significantly expanded in scope and scale to become the largest exercise held in India. Okay, so you have to have an idea of this Exercise Milan, because as the name suggests, this is the largest exercise that is hosted by India. Okay, this is the largest military exercise that is hosted by India. So we have to have an idea of what this is about. All right, now let me just give you a background of this Indian Navy and why this news is in news. The first thing is December 4th. December 4th is celebrated as Indian Navy Day. Okay, December 4th is celebrated as Indian Navy Day. Now, as you saw last year, they are asking the context why certain days are celebrated as a particular attribution to certain sections of the government, correct? So you should always have the background. For example, why Constitutional Day is, or why Governance Day is attributed to a particular day. You have to have the background context of that. So like that, you have to learn, because such questions are coming in prelims, you have to have some idea about why the day is fixed on December 4th. Okay, so Indian Navy Day is fixed on December 4th because of the Indian Navy's daring attack on Karachi Harbour. Daring attack on Karachi Harbour during our 1971 war, and this operation was known as Operation Trident. Okay, this was known as Operation Trident, and because of this, because of their daring attack and the courage and commitment they showed, we commemorate the Indian Navy on the December 4th as the Indian Navy Day. Okay, that is the first one. The next is if you take Exercise Milan. Exercise Milan. Okay, now if you take Exercise Milan, as the article tells, it began in 1995. It is a biennial multilateral exercise. It's a biennial multilateral naval exercise. Though it is a naval exercise, overall this is the largest exercise hosted by India. It is the largest military exercise hosted by India. The last edition was known as Milan 40. 40 depicts the participants. 40 countries of the Indian Ocean region had participated in this exercise, which shows the significance of this exercise and significance of India. Okay. Along with this, one more news regarding Indian Navy that has come is Indian Navy has released something called 3 anti-submarine warships. They have also released 3 anti-submarine warships. The name of these warships are Mai, Malvan and Mangrove. Okay, so these are the 3 names. So what in UPSC, usually in prelims, what they can ask is these 3 names. They can give these 3 key names and they can ask you these are in use for what reason. So you should have an idea of that this is something to do with Indian Navy and this is to do with anti-submarine warships. Okay, that is enough. However, it is important for you to observe such details. Now, as we come closer to prelims exam, I will keep bringing such details also along with my mains analysis, so that you also get an idea of how to look at the newspaper from prelims perspective. Okay, so the news in 30 minutes is going to get even more important, because as we approach prelims more closer, I am going to bring more and more prelims perspective also into the ambit of this initiative. Okay, so please tune in and please be consistent in the program. Okay, with that you understood what is the Indian Navy Day and why is it celebrated on December 4th. Then you understood what is Exercise Milan, and then what are these Mahi, Malvan and Mangrove. Okay. Now coming to the significance of Indian Navy. Significance of Indian Navy. Now, one, it is regarded as preferred. It is regarded as preferred security partner. The reason it is preferred security partner is a status given to a nation which acts as a first responder. To any type of assistance that is sought by other countries, especially in Indian Ocean region. Any assistance that is sought by other nation, India will always be the first responder. Hence, it is termed as preferred security partner, which is actually a very proud thing. Okay. The second importance is Indian Navy has taken up 17 multilateral and 20 bilateral exercises. Annually in maintaining strong defense ties. However, look at the 17 multilateral and 20 bilateral exercises Indian Navy has undertaken that shows the significance of Indian Navy, especially in Indian Ocean. And the third aspect that is important is Indian Navy in 2022 has joined an initiative called Combined Maritime Force. So this Combined Maritime Force is nothing but it was started by USA. So it is a USA led initiative, and it is basically based in Bahrain. Okay, it is based in West Asia, that is Bahrain. Okay, so it is Bahrain based. And the next is it is a multilateral naval partnership. And it aims to promote especially security and stability in international waters of Indian Ocean region. Okay, so basically, since why is it Bahrain based is because it looks at the Indian Ocean region, especially those surrounding West Asia, because the waters there are highly prone to attacks by ethnic rebel groups, or it is highly prone to attack by terrorists, or it is highly prone to attack by pirates. The waters, Indian Ocean region towards West Asia, requires special forces to keep a monitor, and this Combined Maritime Force is one such organization. So it is led by USA, a Bahrain-based force, which is a multilateral naval partnership where India is also part of it, to maintain security and stability of the international waters in Indian Ocean region, especially that part that falls near West Asia. So all this points to the Indian Navy and its significance in Indian Ocean region. Okay, so this is about this issue. So I hope you got both prelims perspective as well as mains perspective about what is happening regarding Indian Navy. Okay, so the next issue again from prelims perspective is changing tide on democracy and Myanmar's civil war. Okay, Tatmadaw has been stretched thin in the civil war in Myanmar. Okay, see this Tatmadaw, the moment you're seeing some keyword, you have to understand what is this. Tatmadaw is also known as JUNTA. That is another name that is given to the Myanmar military. So the Myanmar military recently did a coup and they removed the democratically elected government and they set up their own authority. So they removed the democratically elected government and they set up their own authority. Now this setting up of their own authority created a lot of skirmishes or a lot of rebel groups in all across the nations. Okay, now what is happening is this military that is known as Tatmadaw or Junta is facing a lot of rebel group, and some rebel groups names that you should know is Three Brotherhood Alliance. This is one rebel group that is opposing the Myanmar military. And Myanmar military actually is suffering a lot of defeat from the Three Brotherhood Alliance. Then you have the People's Defense Forces. This is another rebel group. See, they can just ask you People's Defense Forces is recently seen in news, which is in the context of which country. They can give you 4 countries and they can ask which country is this mainly in use? So they can always ask like this. So you should always have such observations. Okay. So the rebel groups, one is Three Brotherhood Alliance, the next is People's Defense Forces, and there are some ethnic forces like Karen forces, Kachin forces. Okay, all these are different ethnic forces. Okay, so these are some of the names that you should have a very good observation on. Okay, so basically the junta or the Tatmadaw, that is the Myanmar military, is facing a lot of rebellion attacks from the Three Brotherhood Alliance, the People Defense Forces, and some ethnic forces. Okay, now if I just want to show you the map, look at this. If you look at Myanmar, there are some areas that are facing a lot of issues. One is this Chin. Okay, Chin borders with India, and here the rebel group have attacked the Myanmar military, and the Myanmar military is actually going into the Mizoram part of India. Okay, now the Indian government is trying to send these people, the Myanmar military that has gone into Mizoram, they are going to Moreh, and from Moreh they are sent back to Myanmar. Okay, so this issue is happening with respect to India, how India is trying to help, not in a way in the war, but to help humanitarianism or humanitarian wise. It is trying to just allow the soldiers who are coming into Mizoram to go back to their country via another group. This shows the humanitarian angle of India. Okay, and this shows that India is a soft power and it is improving its ties with respect to Myanmar. However, to come back to the discussion, the first state that you should have your eye on is this Chin state. So they can ask you, Chin is in news because of which reason, or amongst which country is this Chin in context to the news that we see. Okay, the next is two other states where you are seeing a lot of noise is Kachin state and Shan state. Okay, now here the border that this Kachin and Shan shares is with China. And here the Three Brotherhood Alliance. The Three Brotherhood Alliance is very strong. And it is the Three Brotherhood Alliance who are actually defeating the Myanmar junta. Okay. So these are the three important states that is happening. So to just give you a background context, look at this. Okay. So this shows look at this. This is Moreh. Okay. And this is where you have let me just, one second, sorry. This is where you have the Chin state. See, this is the Chin state. Okay, so as I told you, the Myanmar military is entering Mizoram, and India is trying to give them a safe passage on humanitarian grounds and send them back through Moreh in Manipur back to the Myanmar. Okay, the next is Shan, and there is another state here, Kachin state. Okay, as you can see here, Kachin state. Okay, so this is Kachin state. So these are bordering China, and these are the Three Brotherhood Alliance is more active along this line. Okay, so some of the important names that you should know in Myanmar, to just summarize, some of the important names that you should know in Myanmar is one, Chin state. Okay, two is Shan state. The next is Kachin state. Okay, the next is Kachin, Kachin state. Okay, the next is Ka-in state. Okay, that is also in news. Okay, so these are some of the states that are in news because of the ethnic rebel groups that are fighting the Tatmadaw or the junta, that is the Myanmar military. So I hope you got what is happening in Myanmar. Okay, the next is Cambodia PM says the PM won't develop dams on Mekong River. See, the moment such news comes, again I am telling, this article I have taken mainly to give you an outset of prelims perspective. The reason I am telling you this article is, the moment you are seeing Mekong River, try to get an understanding of what this Mekong River is and why is it important. Okay, now the moment I saw this news, I will Google just for 5 minutes. I Googled just for 5 minutes to get this information. What were the information that I got? The first information is, it rises. If I take, let me just come back to this diagram later. The moment I searched for 5 minutes, one thing what I realized is, one, Mekong rises in Tibetan Plateau. It rises in Tibetan Plateau in China. Okay. The next is, it is the third largest river in Asia. So the moment I saw third largest, I just wanted to know who are the first two. The first is Yangtze. The second is Yellow River. See, these are the two, first and second, and the Mekong comes third. So one information that you should know is 3 largest rivers of Asia takes birth in China. Okay, so this is one. The next is, what is the countries, or what are the countries along which Mekong flows? That is the next information that you should know. So the next information is, look at this diagram. All right, you just go to images, you will find it. Okay, so it rises in Tibetan Plateau. Okay, it rises in Tibetan Plateau, and look at Mekong very closely. So Mekong flows to China. It flows through China. Then can you see Myanmar and Laos? Mekong is creating a border between Myanmar and Laos. Okay, then look at Thailand and Cambodia. Thailand and Laos. Look at Thailand and Laos. Mekong is also creating a border along Thailand and Laos. Okay, and Mekong flows through Cambodia and finally Vietnam. Okay, so to summarize, what are all the states that Mekong flows through? Mekong flows through first China, then Myanmar, then comes Laos, Cambodia, Thailand and Vietnam. Okay, so these are the 6 nations through which Mekong flows. Okay, the next is, you have heard one more cooperation called Mekong Ganga Cooperation. Mekong Ganga Cooperation. So basically this cooperation is amongst India. Okay, India is the representative of Ganga River, and the 5 nations of ASEAN are representative of Mekong. What are the 5 nations? The 5 nations are Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam. See, so we have 5 plus 1, 6 countries who are into Mekong Ganga cooperation. So this cooperation is mainly with respect to trade, with respect to tourism, with respect to education, infrastructure projects, connectivity. So anything it can be, but this cooperation involves 5 plus 1 countries. Now, the point I'm trying to make is, the moment you learnt about Mekong, you can connect to so many different places, from geographical angle to international relations to polity angle. This is how you have to always go to the background and try to study the background whenever any aspect is in news. Okay, so this diagram is basically showing the drainage basin of Mekong. So whenever I say the drainage basin of Mekong, it includes China, Myanmar, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand and Cambodia. As you can see, Vietnam very little, but definitely it shares. So Vietnam is also part of, and you can see here also there is far more sharing. So anyways, so Vietnam is also part of the drainage basin of Mekong. So I hope this is clear. So this completes this issue. Let's go to the next issue of the day. The next issue of the day is, the center agrees to examine measures to ensure constitutional safeguard for Ladakh. Okay, so earlier this January, MHA constituted a committee to ensure protection of land and employment for the people of Ladakh, was rejected, but now it has agreed to ensure the constitutional safeguards. So the context, let me give you the context what is happening. The people of Ladakh are demanding that Ladakh should be put under 6th schedule. The reason Ladakh should be put under 6th schedule is, 6th schedule will promise them certain autonomy, and this autonomy is what they are seeking for. Okay, the reason why they are seeking this autonomy is because they argue that they have a unique language and culture. They also have a very unique geographical location. Okay, and the next is, they also say that it falls in a strategic place. And because of all these reasons, they are demanding that the Ladakh, the Union Territory of Ladakh, should be put under the 6th schedule. Okay. Now, before I get into the polity angle of 6th schedule, let me give you the geography angle of Ladakh. This is how you go to the background. Okay. When you go to the background, you have to study about what is the 6th schedule. You also study geographically where is this Ladakh and what is it all about. Okay, so before I go to the polity angle, let me give you the angle of geography. So if you take the northern part of India, the Himalayan states, now see this part. Okay, this part is Ladakh and this is J&K. Okay, so this Ladakh broadly as, you have Gilgit Baltistan here. Okay, you have Aksai Chin here. Okay, so this is Aksai Chin and this is, this is Gilgit-Baltistan and this is Aksai Chin. Okay, so to divide it in another way, if I take this as Ladakh, you have Karakoram range. This is Karakoram range. This is Ladakh range. And this is Zaskar range. Okay, that is another way of looking at Ladakh as a union territory. Okay, now important places that you should know in Ladakh are: one, you should know about Kardungla. You should know about Kardungla Pass. You should know about Diosai Plains and Depsang Plains. Now, as you know, Depsang Plains falls along the line of actual control. It is known as Y junction. The line of actual control, or it is known as Y junction. Okay. The next is Gogra Hot Springs. You should know about this. This also falls along the line of actual control. The fourth you should know is the salt lakes that are present in Ladakh. The salt lakes that are present is So Morari and Pongyang So Lake. Okay, again this Pongyang So Lake falls in the line of actual control. Okay, so these are some information that you should know regarding Ladakh. So you learned about the geographical aspect of Ladakh. Now, as you already know, Ladakh is demanding the 6th schedule. So what is the 6th schedule is something that we have to look into. Now, if you let me just give you a comparison. There are if you take the tribes in India are protected by the constitution under 2 schedules. Okay, the first is the 5th schedule, and the second, another way is the 6th schedule. So these are the 2 schedules that are dedicated for protection of tribes. Okay. Now if I take India, okay, so the tribes who are residing in the mainland India, this is most of the tribes in mainland India who are residing. This mainland India tribes are protected under 5th schedule. The mainland India tribes are protected under 5th schedule, whereas here the tribals in northeastern India are mainly protected under 6th schedule. Okay, so now let us discuss what is the difference between the tribal areas protected under 5th schedule and the tribal areas protected under 6th schedule. Okay, so I will divide it as 5th schedule. Okay, and here it is 6th schedule. Okay, since we are talking more about 6th schedule, let me first complete 6th schedule and then come back to the 5th schedule. Okay, if I take 6th schedule, the tribal areas, especially in the states of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. These are the 4 states where 6th schedule is applicable. These are the only 4 states, so keep this in your mind. Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram are the 4 states where 6th schedule is applicable. The next is, in these areas, the governor can set up something called autonomous district councils. The governor can set up autonomous district councils. They are known as ADCs. Okay. Now these ADCs, they have greater autonomy. They have very high autonomy. Why do I tell that they have very high autonomy? Because look at this. They have given the powers of legislature, so they can make laws. They are given the power of administration, so they can also implement the laws that they make. They are also given the power of judiciary autonomy, so they can take judgments on several issues, and also they also take some revenue matters into their own hand. So these are some of the powers that are given to the autonomous district councils. Okay. Now, as I told you, the governor will set up these autonomous district councils, and this autonomous district councils should constitute 30 members. It should constitute 30 members. Among these 30 members, 4 are nominated by the governor. 4 are nominated by the governor, whereas 26 are elected by adult franchise. So all the people in that particular district will elect that representative to be in the autonomous district council. Okay, so this is how the autonomous district councils work, and this is what is being demanded by Ladakh. Ladakh is still not there. They are just demanding that they need this 6th schedule in order to protect their unique culture, language, and also because of their unique geographical location. Okay, so this is the 6th schedule. Now coming to the 5th schedule, you should know about some things about 5th schedule. See, the tribes that are present in 5th schedule, they are put under a concept called scheduled areas. So it is the president. The president is the person who will declare an area as scheduled area. And why will the president declare the area as scheduled area? Because that area is dominated by tribes. Okay, so this is one thing. The president is the one who will declare an area as scheduled area, and he will declare on the basis of the presence of or domination of tribes. So the moment the president declares an area as scheduled area, okay, Article 244 of 1 says that whichever area is declared as scheduled area by the president, that area should have something called Tribal Advisory Council. Let's call it as TAC. Okay, so don't get confused with autonomous district councils. These are different. Okay, once the president sets up an area, scheduled area, Article 244 tells that there has to be mandatory Tribal Advisory Council, that is known as TAC. Okay, now let me come to the governor. The moment the president sets up an area, scheduled area, the governor will get special rights, or the governor gets special powers. Okay, what happens is, the moment the president declares an area scheduled area, the governor will get rights to make regulations. The governor will get rights to make regulations to improve the governance of the area. That is the special right that the governor gets. Okay, so with this special right, the governor will get one more right, that is the composition of Tribal Advisory Council. Okay, so what would be my composition? Composition is the wrong word. It is the governor who will appoint. Composition is the wrong word. It's the governor who will appoint the Tribal Advisory Council. Okay. Now, in the constitution, a broader framework has been given of how tribal advisory should be. Okay. Now, the broader framework of how the tribal advisory should be is, this Tribal Advisory Council should be not more than 20 members. Okay. Should not be more than 20 members. And amongst this 20 members will also include one chairperson. Okay, so it should not include more than 20 members. The chairperson should be the chief minister of that particular state. And one more condition is, 3/4 of this council must be the representatives. They must be the representatives of scheduled areas. Okay, so this is the broad framework given by the constitution. Alright, however, within this broad framework, different states have passed different laws. Okay, they have passed different statutes, and they make different changes. Okay, they can make different changes. However, this is the broader framework. So there can be tribal advisory council that have less than 20 members. There can be up to 20 members, but that is the broader framework. Though the composition may change, broader framework in the constitution given is, it should not have more than 20 members, and the CM should be the chairperson, and 3/4 of the members must be representative of the scheduled areas. Okay, and one more inclusion is, now let us say that the president the president may ask the president may set up Tribal Advisory Council in areas that may not be declared as scheduled areas. Let me just reiterate this point. See, governor will appoint members of the Tribal Advisory Council where in those areas where scheduled areas are already declared by the president. Okay, so governor can appoint the Tribal Advisory Council in areas where scheduled areas is already declared, but the president can set up Tribal Advisory Council in those areas where scheduled areas is not yet declared. Okay, so president will do it. President will do the appointment when it comes to areas where scheduled areas may not be declared, and still Tribal Advisory Council can be set up. However, when the president declares an area as scheduled area, the constitution mandates that there has to be a Tribal Advisory Council that has to be set up, and this is appointed by the governor. Okay, so these are two different schedules, the 5th schedule and the 6th schedule, that actually helps in the protection of tribes, tribal culture, their way of life, their land, their relationship with the forest and livelihood. Okay, so these are the two schedules that you should have very good idea about. Okay, this is very important from the mains as well as prelims perspective. Okay, so this completes the important issues of the 1st of December 2023. I hope you liked this, and as I told you, I'll be bringing more and more prelims perspective because we are moving more closer to prelims exam. So be ready for it, be consistent, and if you like this video, please make sure that you like, share and subscribe. Thank you for all the love and support, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.